Hi, I'm Alex Innecco and this is ECAI's Musical Encyclopedia. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, please. Today's word is actually an acronym. It's MPB, okay? MPB, or in Portuguese, MPB, stands for Música Popular Brasileira, Brazilian Popular Music. But funny enough, it does not refer to all popular music in Brazil. To understand MPB or MPB, you have to know a little bit about Brazilian history. So you have to understand that Rio de Janeiro, was the capital of Brazil for a couple centuries. And that ended in 1960 when it came to Brasilia, where I live. But during the first half of the 20th century, all music that was nationally known had to be broadcast from Rio de Janeiro, where the main radio stations were. Rio and São Paulo. Both Rio and São Paulo, our biggest cities, are in the Brazilian southeast. Yes. And so because of that, because of the golden radio age, as we call in Brazil, a sense of national music was only perceived when it was broadcast over the radio. That is unfair, but that's how it worked. It's similar to when we Brazilians think about classical music and we place Villa-Lobos as one of the greatest composers, and when the Northern Hemisphere studies music history, there's like a tiny paragraph on Villa-Lobos as one of the Latin American composers. Okay, obviously we place him as one of the greatest, but the developed world, let's call it that, thinks that Villa-Lobos is, by the way, one of the Latin American composers. Anyway, it's the same thing with Música Popular Brasileira, Brazilian popular music. There's an amazing array of music being created in all Brazilian states, obviously. But what we call MPB is music that was centered in Rio and São Paulo, most notably in Rio. And it has to do with the post-Bossa Nova movement. We're talking young musicians in the late 1960s. People that, if you're an English speaker, obviously you are, because in this you're hearing this video, you may know Elis Regina, Caetano Veloso, Chico Buarque, Milton Nascimento, Gilberto Gil. They're great composers from the late 1960s that have this, it's kind of an evolution using the bossa nova as a matrix. Okay, some sustain that MPB was born in what we call the music festivals. There was a TV network that produced music festivals where there would be music competitions, what we call festivais. And in 1968, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 7 or 8, Elis Regina sang Arrastão by Edu Lobo. E tem jangada no mar, e hoje tem arrastão. And some sustain that was the beginning of MPB. Not sure if that's the case. What is important for you to understand is that it's very hard to conceptualize. It's identified with upper middle class in Rio and São Paulo. Not huge arrangements, so it's identified with the guitar, and we call it a guitar and a little chair. Oh, banquinho, violão, okay? So it's hard to conceptualize, but it's what is easy to understand is that it's mid to late 20th century, upper middle class, southeast Brazil, especially Rio and São Paulo, young musicians they were trying to find a truly Brazilian language, okay? At the same time in Brazil and in the radio, there were popular singers who were not part of this movement. And it's not like people chose to be part of this music. You had to be kind of cool to be part of it. You know, you were just part of the gang. Okay, it's something like that. It's very complex. It's as complex as the Bossa Nova movement because Brazilians, especially the upper middle class, like to be associated with Bossa Nova because that's the Brazil they wanted to picture outside of Brazil. So Antonio Carlos Jobim, Tom Jobim, was the Brazilian that spoke English, drank whiskey, smoked cigars, talked to Frank Sinatra, presented stuff in Carnegie Hall. That's the Brazil that they wanted. For you Americans, if you're American watching this, you may remember another Brazilian phenomenon called Carmen Miranda, the lady with bananas in her hat. And that is the kind of phenomenon that Brazilian middle class did not want to be associated with in the beginning. So that's interesting to understand. Brazil is very complex. Oh my God, I extended myself. This became a fruit salad, more complex than Carmen Miranda's head. Anyway, it's a free video, so take it or leave it. But please subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much.